4. It looks like the IAG and RAC mergers hit another setback. The competition watchdog is opting for a deeper review. You'll remember the proposed billion-dollar sale was knocked back last year, with the ACCC arguing it could substantially lessen competition. Now, speaking with Nadia, the ACCC's chair, Gina Cass-Gottlieb, invited the public to share their thoughts on the deal.
We have decided that this proposed transaction could lessen competition in WA in home insurance and motor insurance. So we have put it through to this in-depth review. But if we can see that a transaction could substantially lessen competition, then we move to the second phase, because we're going to test it further, and the parties will put, RAC and IAG will put on more submissions and more evidence, and we are very interested to hear from others up till the 4th of May about their views, and then we need to look at it in depth, and we need to make a decision. Do we approve or not approve? So a transaction that we think could lessen competition, we have to give this extra phase of consideration, and there are only two results that will come from that. We will either approve it or we will not approve it, and if we don't approve it, they can't do the transaction.
1300 221 1025. Should RAC fall into the hands of IAG, or should the regulator knock the deal on the head? Neil Lefebvre, he's the CEO at the Motor Trade Association of WA. Neil, good afternoon. Should this merger go ahead?
Good afternoon, Ollie. Look, I think it's been pretty clear from the ACCC in the first round of feedback they've given, and what is now the second round of feedback. In their documentation, they've said they're satisfied that the acquisition could reduce competition, drive up premiums, and reduce the quality of product. So in the documentation they've issued so far, they have called out that it is not in the public's interest. So curious to see that next step that we're going to go through, but similarly we'll be submitting on behalf of our members the same set of feedback that we've already provided. And I'm sure the consumers who have been hearing on yours and other shows will be giving the same piece of feedback in WA.
So that's basically the concern there at the MTA WA is we're going to have to probably pay more for our insurance because it will reduce competition.
So from a body repair, crash repair industry perspective, when you get to a situation where you have one absolutely dominant insurer, which this would be in that case, they would be in a position where it's David and Goliath, and they could dictate the terms and conditions of business. So they could say how much they will pay for repairs, and they could be quite restrictive in their contracts. These are the kind of things that are not only bad for the industry, they're bad for the consumer. The consumer becomes the loser in this process. So
would that mean for drivers they wouldn't get as good a service as they get today?
So if you look at the RAC today, drivers get a fantastic service from the organisation. We're in an environment where we've got good competition, and RAC has got a fantastic reputation here in WA. And our members work very well with the RAC. They provide good engagement with our members. They provide a good product to consumers. And to that end, our members have advocated many a time for RAC to their customers. So, that we've been a part of that word of mouth that's helped grow the RAC brand and distribution of its motor insurance product here in WA. That's the positive component, having healthy competition. When you take that away and you give that control to an Eastern States-based business, those dynamics will change. My guest is Neil Lefebvre, CEO, Motor Trade Association of WA. Love to hear from you. 1300 221 1025. Should the RAC fall into the hands of IAG, or do you reckon the regulator should knock the deal on the head? Call through now, 1300 221 1025. Neil, are you surprised that we still haven't got a clear outcome? Because when I look at the clock, we're almost a year on from learning about the proposed deal. Like you, Ollie, yes, I am. I was thought it was fairly cut and dried with the initial decision in December. I understand they do have a second stage of this process, which we've just gone through. But I have to say, it wasn't expecting a maybe a lack of decision at this stage. So I thought from the documentation that has gone through, this should have had enough exposure and consideration. But respecting that process, we're into that further stage, and would expect, certainly from our members, and not just here in WA, at a national level. This is a concern nationally for the industry. So there would be the continual feedback from a national level from our members, and I'm sure from consumers here in WA.
And if you've made a submission in round one, you'll have to probably make a submission in round two. And I assume most people who do want to make a submission will have to follow that one up, Neil.
I would suggest so, yes. Yep, 100%.
Good on you, Neil. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Ollie. You too.
Neil of Febvre there, CEO, Motor Trade Association of WA. What do you think?